The November 19th, 2013 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Wilson, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Here.
Mr. Mihawk?
Here.
Mr. Sparacia?
Here.
Mr. Tuttle?
He'll be a little late.
Mr. Shaw?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 19th, 2013 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education. Prior to this evening, each board member has received for their review and consideration the agenda and materials associated with each agenda item for the board's approval via the district's paperless Board of Education agenda system known as Board Docs. The public can access the agenda through the school district's website. The agenda is available through the district's website for public viewing the Sunday prior to the board meeting. Board members have the opportunity to call the superintendent and chief financial officer for information concerning agenda items and to request, if needed, additional information. There are two places on the agenda when the board entertains comments from the community. The first hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on agenda items only. The second hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on any subject, whether it is an item on the agenda or another issue. When addressing the board, please state your name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please address questions to the president. This meeting is being televised on a delayed basis and will be shown on Channel 96 in Mentor and Channel 22 in Mentor on the Lake. If you would, please place your mobile telephones on the silent mode during the meeting. Thank you. Entertain a motion for the approval of minutes, October 8th, 2013 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any additions, corrections, deletions? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes. And now we come to our first hearing of the public on any item that is on the agenda. And seeing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report and recommendations. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. I have the following recommendations listed under the consent agenda and recommend approval of items 5A1 through 5A5.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President and members of the board, we are very proud to recognize Mentor High School student Hannah Taub as a National Merit Semi-Finalist. This is an outstanding accomplishment, and we offer our congratulations to Hannah, her parents, and wish her good luck in the future. Mr. Wade, along with Mrs. Briner, will do the presentation.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller, Mr. Wilson, it's my pleasure to congratulate Hannah Taub on her recognition for a National Merit Semi-Finalist. Hannah is one of 16,000 students who have made it into the National Semi-Finalist category out of 1.5 million entrants into the PSAT. Hannah should be congratulated as having an extraordinary PSAT score that's got her to this point, and we wish her luck as she competes and completes the process for the finalists, and we hope to have her back up here in April recognizing her as a National Merit Finalist. So congratulations, Hannah, for all her hard work, and well deserved.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Congratulations. Mr. President and members of the board, we have 2 new policies and 3 revised policies in response to changes in state laws and administrative regs. Since this is the first reading of these new and revised policies, no vote is necessary. And these are Ohio Revised Code policies. Mr. President, members of the board, I'm recommending approval of agenda item C1 related to certified staff and C2 through C4, all related to human resource matters.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Thank you. This concludes my part of the agenda.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Board of Education report and recommendations. Under new business, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the reappointment of Amy Frank Hensley as Mentor Public Library trustee for the term January 1, 2014 to December 31, 2020.
So moved. Second.
If I may just make a comment, and then Amy's here tonight,
Yeah.
and perhaps she can make a comment. The Mentor Public Library is organized by the Mentor Public School District, and we have the statutory responsibility to appoint the members of the trustee, approve their annual budget, and ratify any levy requests that the board contemplates at the library. Trustees serve a 7-year term that are staggered, so every fall or early winter, the board will appoint one member to either continue on the library or begin a new term. We're very fortunate. Amy was appointed to an unexpired term in June of 2008, currently is serving as president of the Mentor Public Library Board of Trustees, and has had a very positive impact on that organization. She expressed an interest to continue, and it was the consensus of the board that we would be delighted to reappoint her. So I don't know if Amy has any comments to offer, or just wants to hear thank you.
If you don't mind if I just speak from here, I've had I would say it's been a great time. It hasn't actually been a great time, but it's been a great result. And I thank the board through that entire time. You've supported us in everything that we've tried to do. And I'm very happy with the result, and I'm very happy to continue on.
Good. We thank you for your service. Doing a great job. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes. Item number 2, it's recommended that the resolution to appropriate $20,000 for use in legal defense be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to our legislative report. We're moving a little faster than I'm sure Mr. Tuttle had hoped. I'm not even going to begin to look this over, but the handout is at the desk if anybody wants to look at Mr. Tuttle's report on what's happening down in Columbus on the legislative front. So we move on to Chief Financial Officer's report and recommendations.
Thank you. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the financial statements for the month of October 2013 and place them on file for audit.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments?
I would only note that normal performance, a third of the way through the budget year, nothing exceptional.
Very good, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the investment transactions presented in Exhibit 7-B.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the appropriation modifications presented in Exhibit 7-C.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the supplemental appropriations presented in Exhibit 7-D.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the student activity purpose, goals, and budgets presented in Exhibit 7-E.
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
And that completes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Moving on, any unfinished business? I don't believe so. Anyone? No? Any new business? None? Hearing of the public on any item at all relative to the district? Any topic, anyone? Okay, very good. Accept a motion to go to executive session to discuss
Personnel.
personnel matters. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Mihawk?
Yes.
Mr. Sparacia?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes. We do anticipate no further activity afterwards, so we will just, after the executive session, come back and adjourn the meeting. So thank you all very much. And again, Hannah, congratulations.